best lesson to learn from Singapore is how they have a interministerial committee on aging. So the ministerial committee on aging has ministries from, it's most of the ministries in Singapore are part of this. And we find that to be really unique. So we're actually studying this ministerial committee on aging. It provides the foundation for Singapore's approach to aging. And that way it's not something that's just health and human services, but it becomes an issue of the Ministry of Manpower, transportation, housing, and really looking at finance as well. And I think Ministry of Social and Family Development is part of it. So really most of the ministries are part of this. And it really means that everyone's coming to the table saying, for Singapore, it's in the national interest for seniors to remain active, for them to successfully age in place. And in order for these things to happen, for them to stay in their homes, to be active in their communities, what needs to be in place? And then looking across the ministries to see what can be done. And just having that approach is very innovative. So we're actually writing a book on Singapore's approach to its aging population, because we think other countries can learn from this.
The areas where the lessons learnt, I guess, about what doesn't work, typically either price, product and brand. And by that I mean, if the brand is not well regarded, the operator is not well regarded in the market, if the product doesn't meet what residents want, they won't embrace it almost at any cost. And if the price is not balanced and appropriate, then there will be varying degrees of resistance. And by price, I mean the ingoing price, the recurrent charges, and the exit fee. If they are out of balance, there'll be market resistance.
So some things that the government has been able to do to really help move along investment from private sector into aged care. I think they're really pushing forth with investments, some of the subsidies that they offer, and also they become more creative, I think, with their grant giving processes as well. So recently they announced a Care at Home Innovation Grant. And what's innovative about this grant is how the grant is structured. The grant requires that there's one care provider, and the care provider can either be public or private sector, and then a solutions provider. And that solutions could be technology, it can be operations research, it can be a number of things. But what's great about this is you're basically facilitating public-private partnerships, or in some cases private-private partnerships, but you're ensuring that you have two partners who are part of creating new models for home care, for aging. And this could be extended to other sectors as well, as saying, you know, when it comes to aged care, we want to look at new models, we want to figure out new ways of doing things, and what's the best way to stimulate these new models. And I think the structure of this grant is a good example on how to do that. So this is the first time that this grant has been offered and that people can apply for it. So we'll see as far as what are the quality of the models, what type of models do we see coming through the application process, but just the structure of it itself is quite innovative.
Across the board, you are assessed by Centrelink, which is a government agency that assesses your income and your assets. And the government still will, if you have effectively no income and assets, they will pay for you. But for those of us who can afford to pay, you're asked to pay at varying levels. And there are different rates of different components that will go towards working out what you can be asked to pay. There's a minimum that you have to be left with, but all the care is provided. Your food, you don't really have no expenses at all if you move into aged care. So you're getting all your food, nursing care, your accommodation, everything else like that is maintained at a consistent level. So it works fairly well.
Other ways that Singapore is encouraging private sector investment. Right now in Singapore, it's mostly public, but they want it to become more private because there just isn't going to be as much funding in the future, government funding for aged care facilities. As the demands increase from having more elderly people, the increase in dementia, the increase in a number of chronic conditions, and you just are going to see a lower tax base as well with a younger population and less working adults in the future. So they need to have more innovations in efficiencies and productivity in the sector.